He was one of the stars, and congratulations to Ireland. But, right, where do we start with England and this debacle?
Well, that was the worst performance I've ever seen from an England team, ever, from start to finish from the game. We were out-fought, we were out-thought, we were out-battled, and we were totally hopeless for 90 minutes. And I said after the three group games that I didn't think England were good enough. And I argued with you and Danny and Dean the other night, and I didn't see enough in those performances either. I think it looked to me as if Roy was making it up as he was going along. He didn't have a system. He didn't know his best players.
Tactically inept?
Tactically inept. We had players in the squad who didn't deserve to be in the squad. How on earth can you pick Jack Wilshere? Hasn't started a game or hasn't played 90 minutes for over a year, played 141 minutes in a season. How on earth can he be deemed fit enough or good enough to come in and represent England? And he brought him on at half-time to try and save the game after taking him off after 50 minutes the other day because he wasn't good enough. Raheem Sterling, he's put his neck on the line for him. He hasn't performed, hasn't been playing for his team. So we can go on and on. Harry Kane on corners in the first game. I mean, the list is endless, Gary. It's from start to finish. I think it has been pretty hopeless.
Rio, what do you think's gone wrong here? I mean, you look at these players. There's some very good footballers in there. We see them week in, week out. Yeah. They're playing against footballers that, you know, looking at on paper and the clubs that they're at, etc. They shouldn't compare. So how can it go this drastically wrong?
No, I agree with everything Alan just said there, but embarrassing, to be honest with you. And I think at the end of the day, if you get into a tournament and you don't know your best team and you don't know your best formation, you're running into trouble. And it was proven in all of the games we played. We just got past Wales, just beat them with 9 seconds to go. Didn't beat all the other teams that on paper we should have put aside easily. And one of the biggest problems that we've had with this England team, other than not knowing your best team and your best shape, is when we got into wide areas where we was always going down with the fullbacks especially, we had no real idea. There was no real philosophy or no idea of where to run. There was no, right, Harry Kane's going to be in the box, and then people are going to run off him, either side of him. There was no finesse, there was no inventiveness in any of the play going forward. And it was just, I was excited by this England team going into this tournament, to be honest with you. And I think I was led up the garden path a little bit because qualifying was so easy. And you believe the hype a little bit, and you get lulled in a little bit. But I'm buying into youth. That's what I was buying into. But I didn't expect us to win this tournament, and I didn't say we was ever going to have a chance of winning it. But I thought we'd come out of this tournament because of the young players we've got, the vibrant work ethic, etc. that they've shown in games going by, as individuals, especially in their club form. I thought we'd have a chance of actually coming out of this tournament with a little bit of positivity. Absolutely gone, bereft of ideas.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of teams at this tournament with a mixed bag of talent, if you like, but most of them that have done well have been really well organised and have a game plan. England didn't seem to have that.
Well, I've listened to obviously the lads and they've hit the nail on the head with every word that they've said tonight. And I think the one thing that stood out for me is that I don't think Roy knew what he was doing. I don't think he knew what was his best team at any time. I don't think he knew what was his best system at any time either. And I think his loyalty to players is what's cost him not only his job, but what's cost us a really horrible way of going out of a tournament, in all honesty, because those players have let him down as well.
You talk about this loyalty. Which players we're talking about? Obviously, you mentioned Jack Wilshere's one, Sterling perhaps another. Do you think Cahill?
Yeah, I think Kane as well. And Kane's had a fantastic season, brilliant season. He's not performed at the tournament. Joe Hart possibly you could name as well. There's players that he's really stuck with. The one that sticks out massively is Sterling.
Ultimately, though, if you've got a manager who's got so many players to choose from, I think you'd vary your selections perhaps with the squad, but by and large, most of us, some sort of blame has to go on the players' shoulders as well.
It does, and I think they would, as players, knowing a lot of the players that are in that dressing room, they'll be taking responsibility. But at the same time, you've got to be guided. Yeah. I played for a manager at Manchester United. When he left, things didn't go too well. It showed me that managers mean a lot within a team. He is the one who sets the tone for the players to go out there and carry out his ideals and his ideas.
Our players caved tonight in that. And yes, you can talk about England players being under pressure. Look, we've all been under pressure. We've all had to perform in tournaments. Our players caved tonight. I thought the manager caved as well. He should have brought Rashford on a lot earlier than he did. He gave him, four or five minutes? He did more in the 4 or 5 minutes than anyone did in the previous 85 or 86 minutes. So I thought everyone caved tonight. It's not about pressure. we're blinded by our Premier League. We think our Premier League is one of the best in the world for talent. It's not. We're totally and utterly reliant on foreign players and foreign managers for this excitement. We're not as good as we think we are, or the players are not as good as we think they are.
Yeah, well, there's got to be some truth in that. Right, let's look through the game a little bit defensively. We're always worried going into this tournament, and even though they've not been pressurised too much in the group games, it happened having taken the lead.
I mean, this is the throw-in. This is the game that they played earlier in the tournament. I mean, they would have worked on this every day since they got this draw. They would have worked on this. They would have seen that. Here, Walker, it's not about the first ball. Sometimes you say we're going to lose the first ball, but the second ball, we'll all go with our men and we'll clean up. He just ball watches, loses him. And listen, Walker, going forward, he's a very good player, but defensively, questions have always been asked about him, and he needs to answer that and step up to that. But organisation is key. Concentration at these moments, poignant moments in games are key. You've got to do that.
Iceland have done that in every single game, so that can come as no surprise to England.
So
for the last 4 or 5 days. No, I tell you, what is
coaching.
Gary Neville doing? He was one of the best defenders we've had. So surely they've had to work on defensive set pieces all week, because that's what Iceland have been brilliant at. Why on earth is Rooney deemed not good enough to head a ball in the box, but he's deemed good enough to pick up one of their best headers of a ball from a throw-in? And he gets done on the first head, and that's where the first goal comes from. So not only do you have to look at the manager, you've got to look at the coaching staff also.
OK, second goal?
Well, where do you start with it? It's brilliant play from Iceland, and yes, we've got to give them credit, but this ball travels 40, 50, 60 yards, wherever it is. We've still got enough time to shuffle over. Look at the players there. No pressure on the ball when that ball comes in there. Look at the 3 players. Where's Dyer sitting in front of the back 4? The 2 centre-halves, the 2 forwards in between the 2 centre-halves and the defender haven't got a clue where they are. There's no marking whatsoever. There's no organisation. There's no leader there pulling everyone around and organising and everyone. And when the ball comes in, touch, 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 and the third touch is a shot. Now, that from a defender's point of view, is embarrassing. From a goalkeeper's point of view, it's embarrassing also. Joe Hart said it after the game, he should save that. But I tell you what, these defenders ought to be doing a hell of a lot more in front of him.
I'll tell you what was most alarming there for me, zero communication. As a centre-half, you've got to drag your holding midfielder about to stop the first ball into the front man. And once the ball goes in, then it's one of the defenders who's got to have the nous to come out of the back 4 and engage with the centre forward. But it was static defending, standing, waiting for someone else to step up. And that's what we talked about before, leadership. We were waiting to see someone lead that back 4 and communicate and push people around. Didn't happen today.
Jermaine, going the other way,
Yeah.
England hardly created anything, did they?
Nothing.
Practically nothing in the whole game.
Created nothing in that second half. Not one opportunity. We were all sat here hoping they would do, but absolutely nothing. And it was the wide areas which were the most frustrating areas of the park for me. I mean, we've got a good ball here from Dele Alli. This ball has to come in now. This is what strikers thrive on. Harry Kane's got a lot of stick on this tournament. Get it in the box. Give them something to attack. But no, want to cut back onto our left foot, because obviously it's Sturridge's best foot, so he's naturally going to do that. On the opposite side, I don't think I've ever seen Raheem Sterling whip a ball in with his left foot like that anyway, but that's what needs to be happening. Sturridge doesn't even react because he knows that ball's not coming in. What we like to do is we like to let the back 4 drop back into comfortable areas of the park and not get that ball into the space, and then eventually he just becomes predictable. They overload him with the bodies, and he's got nowhere to go, and it just became
But what you need in instances like that is there someone on the pitch telling him, listen, get the ball in the box. I know if you was playing, one of you guys, you'd be screaming, I've made a run, you better get it in.
Too right.
I would have been at the back going, listen, get the ball in the box, what are you doing?
Not only that, Rio, but at some stages during games, how many times have we seen throughout the Premier League season, you go, all right, it's not happening, lads, switch over. Yeah. Daniel, you go over to the left, you're left-footed. Raheem, you go over to the right. You might get some joy whipping in balls. Not even a thought throughout the whole game to do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Daniel Sturridge doesn't want to play on the right-hand side. He's not a right-sided midfielder or a right winger.
He's a striker.
He's a striker. So we're putting players into systems, into positions that they don't play for their clubs.
I've always said football's a very hard game in your own position, let alone playing in someone else's.
No, it is.
But also, Gary, you've got to pick players who are in form.
Yeah, exactly.
We've made that mistake over the years and years and years. He's gone back, and I thought for this tournament, you know what? We might actually just pick players who are in form, not who think that they should be in that, or who have done a job a year ago or 2 years ago. Players who are actually in form. not for the manager to be loyal.
Also, we've played a formation there every game with 2 wingers and a front man. How many wingers were on that plane that went there? Actually, out wingers.
Well, it cannot be right that you're playing a first game in a tournament, then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and you're still scrambling around trying to find your best players and your best system. That cannot be right.
Right. Bit of credit for Iceland, of course. Magnificent achievement. Tiny island, really, with 300,000 or so people. I mean, it's an astonishing achievement, and that's some good players out there.
Well, every single one of them were absolutely outstanding. They fought for their team. Sigurdsson was absolutely outstanding for the 90 minutes. He gets the goal there. He's quicker than anyone. Both ends of the pitch. Overhead kick here. Another set piece causing us problems. That's the centre half, by the way. And then what about this tackle? Vardy, quick, timed to absolute perfection. He was a leader. He dominated the game. He was exactly what England didn't have.
I think that was their easiest game in the tournament.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I wouldn't
they were
disagree with
cruising.
you. Yeah, England never really looked like scoring, did they? And Iceland even went with 2 up.
This was like they like throwback football.
Yeah.
The old Premier League about 10 years ago, playing two forwards up front, having absolutely zero respect for England the way they approached this game. All the other games we'd seen them, their heat map was in their own box.
Yeah.
Here, they've got 2 strikers up the pitch saying, come on then, give us back the ball and we'll go and attack you. 2 players up front and an old rigid 4-4-2. People saying you can't play 4-4-2 anymore. Well, these guys have just shown us you can. And you can do it effectively if you've got people that are willing to run, willing to move, willing to take the ball, and have got an actual game plan in place that they all adhere to. Here you see it again. Go on, you come out, you play, we'll get the ball back off you. And the way the manager spoke after the game in his press conference was as if to say, listen, we knew we were going to get chances and we knew we were going to have time to beat this team and we were confident. Yeah. And it was proved in the game today.
And they outfought England, didn't they?
They did. You know, and as Rio said, the manager said that, you know, if you put a team together to work together as a team rather than as individuals, you can win matches. And that's exactly what they did. They outfought them, outworked them. They seem to just want it a lot more in these areas. Even when England were trying to probe, they were stronger in the tackle. You know, fully committed all the time, all working for each other. That's a striker there tracking back, just brushing Dele Alli off the ball like he wasn't even there. And they did this constantly. They swamped around England players, giving them no space, no time. The amount of miles they put in, and I have to give a special mention to Gylfi Sigurdsson as well. He was absolutely brilliant for Iceland today, and you know, just a top player throughout.
We've had Russia, we didn't beat them. We had Wales, we beat them in the last minute. We had Slovakia, we didn't score against them. We're pretty hopeless. And we've had Iceland tonight, who outfought us and outplayed us. I mean, and I go back to my point earlier. I kept hearing people saying, well, we had possession, we've just got to take our chances and do this. No, don't talk to me about possession. It's all about putting the ball in the back of the net. Right. And players caved tonight, I'm afraid to say that. It's as hard as it is to say, that is the truth.
OK, well, Roy's gone. Who's next? What's the answer? Is there one? Not an obvious one.
I don't know. Yeah. We've gone for ultimate experience, people that have got experience coming out of their ears. We've gone for a foreign manager. I think we've got to go with someone new, someone young, dynamic, someone who knows and understands the next generation of players that are coming through to try and cajole some type of
Southgate's
quality out of them.
working with the under-21s. He's done particularly well with them. He's in with the FA. He's the obvious choice, considering when you look elsewhere in terms of English managers, not too many, unless they go foreign again. That didn't work either when we tried that.
Well, that's the problem as well. We've just gone through a moment where a lot of managers have just recently took new posts. There's not many people out there I feel can take this job.
I went to see the FA.
Yeah. You wanted the job before, didn't you?
I did. I went to see the FA 4 or 5 years ago, and I said I want it. I'd have that job, and they looked at me and said, no, it's a lack of experience. And I said, well, you've hired experienced guys. You've paid them an absolute fortune. I could not have done any worse than those guys. And
well, Germany did it with Klinsmann and Franz Beckenbauer when they won the World Cup. Would you take it now?
Mark Hughes did it. No, I'd definitely
it?
speak to them, absolutely, yeah.
You would?
Yeah, I would offer my experience and in tournament experience, even if Gareth Southgate got it. For him to take players in with experience who've been there and done it, then that has to be a benefit also.
There's not a person out there that would say no. Just have it right.
There's one here.
Only because you're looking forward to wearing a pair of pants next season. But no, seriously, there's not a person who'd say no. Anyone worth their weight in gold who's got any bit of confidence would say, well, accept the challenge of going in with the England team, because you couldn't do any worse than what people previous have done.
OK, sounds like a Shearer-Ferdinand double act. That'd do for me. We'll move on.